to held my position.
Out this world
Go out the way just to help my position. When I was broke, I just knew I would get it. That hate shit you want ain't no good for my spirit. It is what it is, I got tired of forgiving. Mouth full of ghost crackers smiling and glisten. Out with the old, my phone jumping this Wednesday. Knew I was special, just needed to listen. Lift up a latch and detaching the ceiling. Super Dushani, the motherfucking greatest. This my new rental, don't care, I drag racing. In your apartment, I'm popping the latest. Started finessing, so that's how we played it. Stepped envelopes, got it right on my brothers. No competition, we shine with each other. So many nights had my mind in the gutter. Mama told me like, boy, keep it together. Link with a big booty freak, it's whatever. Bet like a ring, we ain't cutting, we wrestle. Call my connect, need a package of pressure. Mind on my money, you know how I'm stepping. Take your advice, but I really ain't need it. You in my presence, 1K, how you keep it? Act like a star so they don't treat me basic. Bills late, niggas start getting creative. Go out the way just to help my position. When I was broke, I just knew I would get it. That hate shit you want ain't no good for my spirit. It is what it is, I got tired of forgiving. Mouth full of ghost crackers smiling and glisten. Out with the old, my phone jumping this Wednesday. Knew I was special, just needed to listen. Lift up a latch and detaching the ceiling. Super Dushani, the motherfucking greatest. This my new rental, don't care, I drag racing. In your apartment, I'm popping the latest. Started finessing, so that's how we played it. I'm detaching the ceiling. I'm full of ghosts while it's shining and glisten. Talking my language, I'm tired of forgiving. Mouth full of ghost crackers smiling and glisten. Out with the old, my phone jumping this Wednesday. Go out the way. It's what it is, I got tired of forgiving.
Put a bill, but don't even post it. She got a nigga, but don't even post it. Where you going? Where you going? Son. She got a nigga, but don't even post it. I pull up with the runs and the potion. Niggas no suitor who give me some motion. Put a play on a play on a play. Put a bay on a bay on a bay. Screaming free out my bodies upstate. Screaming free out my niggas downtown too. I be high as fuck making LeBron moves. She got a nigga, but don't even post it. I pull up with the runs and the potion. Niggas no suitor who keep me some motion. Put a play on a play on a play. Put a bay on a bay on a bay. Screaming free out my bodies upstate. Screaming free out my bodies downtown too. I be high as fuck making LeBron moves. Should be bad like in no time. Hit a C like it's go time. My bitches in the game like the old line. Hey, and when I come down, you get no shine. Scissors on the backseat like a little kid. Tub been gone for a little minute. Ain't back and forth, I just post a pic with a bankroll, pounds in the mix. I can't parking like pimp. Hey, serving coffee shop him. Hey, got you walking around still. Hey, I'll let cash on him. Then put a bag on the cracker, but you put a bag on him. Hey, for black on black violence. Hey, let's go smash on them. I just paid my rent late on the block near Kimbe. Chopper got a little shake, hit the jerk like Ben J. Money calling me today, I'ma pick up every time. Bro just brought a whole bottle, gon' distribute every line. Shawty came with her ass like the city had dying. Wi-Fi around the trap, this shit like a airline. Shawty came with her ass like the city had dying. Wi-Fi around the trap, this shit like an airline. She got a nigga, but don't even post it. I pull up with the runs and the potion. Niggas no suitor who keep me some motion. Put a play on a play on a play. Put a bay on a bay on a bay. Screaming free out my bodies upstate. Screaming free out my niggas downtown too. I be high as fuck making LeBron moves. She got a nigga, but don't even post it. I pull up with the runs and the potion. Niggas no suitor who keep me some motion. Put a play on a play on a play. Put a bay on a bay on a bay. Screaming free out my bodies upstate. day. Screaming free out my body's downtown too. I be high as fuck making LeBron moves. Gotta get up and get up and get up and get it. You working that job or you stuck in the trenches. Cash to be made, so who out here tripping? My cellular phone got a damn chip in it. Wake up, sign for 30 balls. Still in the truck with dirty clothes. You can be different, work my phones. You can be dead and work alone.
Bumper clot, the boy. Bumper clot, my album just dropped. You know how it got. Bumper clot. Don't play me bumper clot, the boy. My album may just drop, the boy. Go download my album, there, boy. Go download my album now, there, boy. I think that my Uncle Chip, the boy. My Uncle Chip.
Hello.
Me, Uncle Chip.
So what do you think about Trump's tariffs?
Me, Uncle Chip. How you doing there?
Really good.
Me, Uncle Chip. Me, Uncle Chip. I have an issue, me, Uncle Chip.
What's that?
My issue, me, Uncle Chip. My supplier is in China, me, Uncle Chip.
Which supplier is that?
Me, clothes and me. Let's just say me clothes supplier, me, Uncle Chip. Me clothes supplier in China. They telling me about a tariff side. What are you?
Oh yeah.
Can you please tell me about the tariff side?
Well, I mean, you picked the wrong country. I mean, that Trump is neutral tariffs on each other up to like 150%. So they're pricing. You have to find a new supplier, somebody that's not going to charge you. I would look for somebody in
My bad.
somebody in Sri Lanka, to be truthful.
Okay, me Uncle.
Vietnam and Sri Lanka. I'd look at those two countries.
Me Uncle Chip. Can you explain? I heard 185%, me Uncle Chip.
More than I thought. So where is your Caribbean accent these days?
Me Uncle Chip. What the what?
Your Caribbean accent. Your Bob Marley IMI accent.
This is how I sound, me Uncle Chip. Uncle
When
Harold.
you are when you're
Harold.
channeling Bob Marley, yes.
Uncle Harold, I have to introduce you to me, Uncle Chip. Me, Uncle Chip. This is me, Uncle Harold.
Hello, how you doing today, sir?
Really good.
Good.
Me, Uncle Chip. I heard it was 185% for me to get my product from China. Me, Uncle Chip.
Well, you know better than I do. I heard 150, but maybe they boosted it another 30% on from side to side.
So me, Uncle Chip, can you break down if my product was $100? How much would I have to pay more with 185%, me, Uncle Chip?
That would be you'd have to pay $285 for your $100 order with that tariff.
Are you serious, me, Uncle Chip?
Apparently so. I mean, from what you tell me, that's what you would have to pay. I by the way, I can put you in touch with somebody who has connections with clothes factories in Sri Lanka.
Okay, me, Uncle Chip. Me, Uncle Chip, let me tell you my situation. Me situation is I already paid for my order, me, Uncle Chip, before May the 2nd, me, Uncle Chip. So it's going to take, a month, maybe two, maybe three for the product to get manufactured and ready for shipping, me, Uncle Chip.
But you
So
could get lucky and this could blow over in 3 months. You could get lucky.
come again?
I said you could get lucky and they could resolve this or reduce the tariffs tremendously in the next 3 months. Anything can happen. It's not something that people are going to want to have hanging around a long time. So if it takes 3 months to manufacture, then you have paid for that part of the process. And so in 3 months, the tariffs could be gone or they could be greatly reduced. You might have to pay much less in tariff or maybe nothing more than you expected when the stuff finally arrives. But if this hangs on, I can put you in touch with somebody with connections. I know a couple people. I know somebody who has connections in Bangladesh and somebody who has connections in Sri Lanka, and they're both clothes-making countries. So,
Okay.
and I don't think the tariffs would be anything like what they're putting on the Chinese. So
Okay.
so there'd be a couple ways.
Okay. So as for today, though, I would have to pay that 285 instead of I would have to add 185 more dollars.
That's what I understand from what you tell me. Yes. But that's only when your stuff arrives in the USA. You say it isn't made yet, and it isn't shipped yet.
Right.
So it's only when it arrives in a U.S. port that they apply the applicable duty.
So I got to go pick it up and pay the tariff.
Well, you either have to pick it up, or you have to, or whoever receives your goods has to pay it, and you have to send them the money to pay for it.
Oh, okay. Most likely, I'm gonna have to send it to the my plug in China.
You would have to pick it up once it gets to the USA. I mean, either you or your agent, or your delivery company, or whoever it is, would end up having to pay the duty, and obviously they wouldn't pick it up unless you paid them the duty.
Yeah,
So
I think the process is they tell you how much more it is. The person that's making tell you how much more it is. You pay that to them, and I guess they pay it forward because they was telling me they had to fill out a form of what was it and what was the quantity and what was the quality and how much was it priced at. They had to fill out this form for the US, they said.
that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, the thing is that they're not intending, these tariffs are not really intended to jam up, small clothing retailers like you. What they're trying to do is get manufacturing back in the USA. They're trying to get people, and apparently, I mean, it's hard to quantify this stuff, but apparently a number of companies are trying to work around the Chinese situation. Apple, for instance, I just heard today, is moving their manufacturing from China to India in order to have lower tariffs and also to have fewer bureaucratic snafus, because the Chinese have during COVID they shut down so much stuff that a lot of the supply chain was very irregular because of the Chinese COVID practices. And so that affected a lot of people. That was the first shock that happened to China as far as being an exporter. People are saying, well, I mean, if you're gonna have such capricious laws that say today you can go to work, tomorrow you can't, and you just mandate everything, you're making your country less reliable as a manufacturing and trading partner. So I assume that there's a qualification for a product to be considered U.S. made. It doesn't have to be 100%. There's a certain percentage of U.S. content or labor that enables a company to sell tariff-free as a made in USA product. It's not 100%. So they're going to try to figure out what they have to do to be considered a domestically manufactured product.
Yeah, man, they got to get their shit together, man. I think you need to go and tell Trump, man, he need to relax on them tariffs because I got some products that's still in the process of coming to H Town.
So how much are you in for with the Chinese?
About $500,000.
About 500. So I could see that 185. So you take 500 and you go. So you double that. That's 1,000. You go 85. That's 1,000. You're looking at like 1,400 for your $500 of clothes. I feel you. I feel you on this one. That's a lot of money.
You gotta go holler at Trump for me.
Well, I do know somebody who sees him from time to time. I don't see him, but I know somebody who does. He actually has been to Mar-a-Lago 4 or 5 times. He's seen Trump. They have talked from time to time.
All y'all look alike, so you can sneak in the White House.
No, not too. I'm not really very good at a Trump imitation.
So what the hell has Elon Musk been? That nigga in the cave?
No, he's going back to his business. He's done what he can do in the time he has, but I mean his companies are on fire with all the protests and that. He has to go back to doing business.
Oh, he done campaigning.
Yeah, I mean he campaigned. He helped Trump to get in there, no question about that. And he lent his name to this Department of Government Efficiency. You know, all of that was costing him money. He didn't get any money for that at all. So he's got to go back to his day job.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this, Uncle Chip. I'm gonna tell you this. I see more Cybertrucks around Houston. I see more Cybertrucks around Houston than I do Teslas. So he is winning because he came out with a groundbreaking automobile, and it is taking the streets by storm. Like that's like the new truck.
So what? So does he make the Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know they do well in the South because you don't have the problems. You get the full battery power in the South of whatever charge that you have. And so if they put charging stations in Houston and around and in Texas and along the Sun Belt and in Florida and California, except in the mountains, those things are going to work really well. Where they're going to have trouble is Minnesota, New Hampshire, Vermont,
Right.
Maine,
The weather.
Alaska, because there the charge of these cars is greatly reduced in cold weather.
Right.
But in the South where you are, I mean, it's perfectly. I mean, probably 9-10 months a year, you get absolutely full charge out of those things.
Right.
I think Houston has a little bit of cool weather in January, the end of December, and maybe half of February, and then it goes back to normal.
Yeah, this sub-Saharan Africa down here.
I've been there a few times near the River Oaks area. My nephew had a nice house about 3 blocks from River Oaks and like a block off of Westheimer.
Okay. Yeah, Uncle Harold know exactly what you're talking about.
And you do too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I say me and Uncle Harold. Yeah. I say.
Oh, you're both Houston.
So
you're both Houston folk.
Most definitely. So with the so what is the next game plan with what's going on with Germany, Ukraine?
Well, Trump is trying to negotiate peace in Ukraine, but I think it's very difficult because Russia doesn't want anything that Ukraine wants, and Ukraine doesn't want anything that Putin wants. I mean, Ukraine doesn't want anything that Putin wants, and Putin doesn't want anything that Ukraine wants.
Hey,
And so,
shout out to Putin, man. Hey, Putin sending them troops to Africa, man. Poop sending them soldiers to Africa. Hey, let me just say, Uncle Chip, I don't know if you realized it, but Uncle Chip definitely dropped a gem. Uncle Sicky D, you know Sicky D, Uncle Chip.
yeah, sure.
Putin been dropped. Hey, Uncle Chip, we got a war going on in Africa. You know what I'm saying? A lot of coups.
Well, there's several wars going on in Africa. Which one are you talking about?
Say it again, Uncle Chip.
There's several wars going on in Africa. Which one are you referring to?
Oh, I'm referring to specifically Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, what Kwame Ture is? Who is Kwame Ture the president of?
Good
I
question.
mean, not Kwame Ture. I'm sorry, not Kwame Ture. Ibrahim Ture.
Ibrahim Toure.
Who is he the leader of? The president of?
Let's see.
Burkina Faso.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, Trump. I mean, not Trump. Putin been sending them soldiers down to Ghana, Burkina Faso, Nigeria. Putin been sending them soldiers down there because we got intel that America is trying to take out some of our powerful African leaders, Uncle Chip. Will you hold America accountable for trying to doing coups in Burkina Faso, Uncle Chip?
I really haven't. What I've heard about Burkina Faso is that you're getting Islamist activity going, spilling over from Niger into Burkina Faso. So you have Muslims and Christians that are killing Muslim and Christian intercommunal violence and Al Qaeda in the Sahel and Boko Haram, which are killing a number of people there in that country for the first time. For the first time, it was relatively peaceful. That was a fairly peaceful place, and now it's spilling over into them.
They definitely say it's a war going on in the Sahel. Uncle Ibrahim Ture is trying to kick all of the French out, kick all of the westerns out of his country, and he's opting for self-reliance in Africa. And you know what I'm saying? No more stealing the cobalt, no more stealing the uranium and magnesium, no more stealing none of that. He trying to more so have Africa unified. Do you think he is a dangerous man for trying to unify Africa? Ibrahim Ture.
No, I mean everybody wants what's best for themselves, and a nationalist leader who wants who wants good things for his country. You can't blame them. You can't blame the man for being the president of his country if he. A lot of those countries that are on the West African franc are among the poorest in the world. They're getting nowhere. They live really poorly. Their education systems are really poor, and they are among the poorest countries in the world. So I mean, you can't blame a president for saying we got to shake things up and do something different. You just can't blame them for that. But on the other hand, they are responsible for doing their best to keep order in their country, to keep their people from being massacred. That is the obligation of any government.
I'm trying to find this article. We got this. Let me see.
We tend not to get that. You have to read French news sources to find, at least for me, I have to read French news sources to find some of that information. And I don't do it all the time. The other source of information I get are consolidation services that talk about Muslim Christian massacres and persecution and things like that. That's another source, unfortunately, of information about those places.
Man, I'm trying to see what is. Maybe I gotta go to YouTube. They want me to go to YouTube. I gotta find this coon real quick. Hold up, we was about to go on coon alert.
Let me see. I'm gonna look up. Just gonna do something general.
I think it was like a NATO, a U.S. Attorney General or a NATO leader, a black bald head man, said trying to call out Abraham Traore. Let me find out his name real quick. I gotta find that. Find that article real quick.
So they're saying that the French government is saying the terrorist threat and the risk of kidnapping is very high on most of the territory of Burkina Faso. Because of these large tensions, various provinces have launched a state of emergency, especially in the northeast and the west of the country.
I got his ass.
So,
I had.
so I'm looking at a French government source. Let's see what they say.
Hold up, real quick, Uncle Chip. I got him. All right, so this now we about to give a house nigga a DP real quick. You know what I'm saying? Let's give a house nigga a DP. Everybody pay attention and get your pop.
What's a DP?
Oh, what'd you say, Uncle Chip?
What's a DP?
He getting a little roughed up. You know what I'm saying? Ain't go breathe on him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like football practice. Like football practice. All right, so check this out. This right here, this guy right here, I got my mouse on. This guy to our right. This guy to our right, to the pitcher's left. This right here is what we call a house nigga. See this guy right here? His name is General Michael Langley, head of United States Africa Command. Now, brother, ain't no damn ally. You is not an ally. You is a house nigga. Now, let me tell you why he a house nigga. This cat, General Michael Langley, trying to call out OG Ibrahim Traore and saying he's spending the money illegitimately. He's spending Burkina Faso's funds on the military. What they got to do with your bald-headed ass? You mind your goddamn business. You mind your goddamn business and act like we got a goddamn peace treaty. You know damn well they've been taken from us. So if a coup, if Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traore, if something happened to him, Powerful Bills Only, you heard it here first. Look no other than to this goddamn gatekeeper, house nigga, what else do we call these type of niggas? What is you? What is you, nigga? You is not like us, and you is not for us. You snitching to the white man about what we doing with our goddamn money. If we want to build our goddamn military, nigga, that's the fucked up part, nigga. We never had a goddamn military. So that's what the fuck we trying to do. You stay your bald head ass out of our goddamn business. Look at him. He looks scared. Look at his face. Look at his goddamn face. This is what we call a house nigga right here. Certified house nigga. You snitching on your African brother, talking about we spending, Ibrahim, we need to look into Burkina Faso. We need to look into Ibrahim Traoré. He's spending too much money on the military. Nigga, that was the goddamn problem. You mad we trying to spend money on our goddamn military? That way if a fucking invasion happened or a coup happened, we all on the same goddamn page. That's why Ibrahim Traoré walk around with that goddamn gun on his waist. Because he don't be having time for the bullshit. And we don't be, hold up, Uncle Chip. My bad, Uncle Chip. You fell off? My bad, Uncle Chip.
I fell off, but I'm in now.
All right. So, yeah, we don't be having time for that goddamn bullshit. So, look at House nigga. What's his name again? Let me say his name again. His power in saying the name. General Michael Langley. Rat. Everybody put a rat emoji in the chat. General Michael Langley. Nigga, a whole rat. How you snitching on your brother? We come from the same struggle. You snitching
so what is the guy supposed to have done?
Say it again, Uncle Chip.
What is he supposed to have done?
General Michael Langley.
Right.
Mind his goddamn business.
Well, he's the U.S. general, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is he? So what is the? What's his job as a U.S. general? Where is he serving?
If Uncle Chip, if his job is to snitch on Africa, that's why he getting a DP.
So what? So how can you snitch on Africa? I mean, it's a continent. How do you snitch on a continent?
You ain't just hear what I just said, Uncle Chip? He said Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traoré, is using his money illegitimately.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you're seeing it in what publication?
Let me pull up the article. I got you. It's actually a video where he was at like the Pentagon or something making a statement. Let me look it up.
Well, unfortunately, when you have, as I see it, when you have when you have your citizens being massacred by Islamist militia groups, and you have people being kidnapped off the streets of your capital city, that's a pretty heavy emergency situation.
I don't see, Uncle Chip. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know about none of that. It sounds like that sounds like an Arab problem. It sounds like them Arabs and them religious Africans tripping.
Well, there is. Well, yeah, but they have a religious dispute going on between the Islamists and the Christians in Burkina Faso.
Yeah, but that's not like the war that's going on right now in Burkina Faso, Uncle Chip, is they finding moles, they finding rats, they finding all kind of, man, you know how many times Ibrahim Traoré, they tried to attempt on his life the past 8 months, Uncle Chip?
Well, I mean, obviously they got real problems over there.
But
when somebody is trying to kill you seriously, I mean, you know, maybe the guy is channeling his inner Donald Trump. You know, they're firing away at him. It's like the OK Corral.
Oh no, this what I was saying earlier, Uncle Chip. I was saying is word that America is, and the French, I think, is behind sending these coups into Burkina Faso, trying to get rid of Ibrahim Traoré. The word on the street is that America got something to do with sending them coups into Burkina Faso. I'm saying, do you think America should cut that shit out, or you think they ain't got nothing to do with the attacks on Ibrahim Traoré's life right now and in the past?
I have to tell you that I think if you walk down the street and you asked 100 people who Ibrahim Traoré is, or even where Burkina Faso is, or what's around there. I'll bet you that you won't find more than one person in 100 who'd be able to answer either question. Now, Ibrahim Touré, I didn't know until when you mentioned who he was, I went to look him up because I didn't know. Now, Burkina Faso, I do know just a little more about because I know bad things are happening over there. I put in the chat something here. I'll translate it for you. In additional information, traffic is extremely not advised after 9:30 at night on the following streets of the downtown of Ouagadougou. The Avenue of Independence, the section situated after the intersection with Avenue G. Ouedraogo, Avenue of the Grand Chancellery, Avenue Kizerbo, Avenue of Burkina, the intersection with Avenue Charles de Gaulle. So it sounds like most of downtown, they're saying, don't even think about traveling there after 9:30 at night, that you run a very high risk of being kidnapped off the street in the capital city. So that's a high level of insecurity.
In the capital city of
That
what?
Of Burkina
Uncle
Faso.
Uncle Chip. If you take your ass to Brownsville, if you take your ass to Corpus Christi after 10 o'clock as a black man, nigga, your ass is in trouble. Or as a white man, your ass is in trouble. If you go close to the border, right by Mexico, Uncle Chip, your ass is in trouble. That is a goddamn a light up, light down. So what they call it, sundown town. Once you start going close to the border, but still in Texas, but close to Mexico, it's like that over here, Chip. Uncle Chip.
I'm still here. I'm just looking for something.
All right.
I'm just looking for something.
I'm trying to find that General Langley speech. Because he definitely was popping it. All right, let me get on YouTube. I gotta go to YouTube, y'all. I didn't want to go to YouTube. I gotta go to YouTube. I bet YouTube gonna show me a short with him breaking it all down. But as black Americans, we should be angry about what General Langley said, snitching on Ibrahim Touré.
Well, Corpus Christi is a little higher than the national average. It's 7.3 people per 100,000 population. It's a little above the national average, but the national average is 6. 6 per 100,000 is the national U.S. average. Now, in my town, it's 1.5. So I live in a very secure city. But Corpus Christi is not that far out of whack. If you compare that to Baltimore in 2022 was 54 people for 100,000 population. That's getting close to a war zone. And it went down a little bit this last year. Baltimore went down to 46 for 100,000. But that's still one of the top 3 most dangerous cities in the USA.
All right, let's check out this video real quick, Uncle Chip. Let me make sure I got it.
From power basically terminating his image. Once again, General, I will say that shame on you. On April.
Hold on real quick. Get your money, get your money. All right, here we go.
On April 3rd, 2025, in U.S. Senate, General Michael Langley, commander of the U.S. AFRICOM, made serious, regrettable, and baseless remarks against Burkina Faso. Under the pretext of mentioning regional dynamics, he asserted without...
Damn, I want the damn... Hold up. All right, here we go. This shit is 2 hours. Hold up, let me break it down.
Well, we could learned
would we be exponentially better?
The greatest concern to U.S. Security and also to regional stability in the area with regard to the actions that we are observing with the Chinese?
Sarah, I see 3 lines of operations by the CCP. One from geostrategic and their basing initiatives. As you well know, Dorley in Djibouti is their first start, and as the chairman talked about in his assessment. Then also other basing initiatives across the continent of Africa. Then their geopolitical line of effort in trying to dislodge the overall leadership in their quest to be the regional hegemon, as we start to look at their activities in the UN and trying to get geopolitical advantage over the West. And then also geoeconomic. They treasure critical minerals. They need those critical minerals, not only for their defense and industrial base, but also for their greater industrial base. Those lines of efforts are what we're watching closely because they want to be the global hegemon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. Senator.
All right, now everybody keep that in note. Everybody keep that in note. Let's go to the next part where he talked.
That the Chinese Communist Party is trying to replicate. They can't do what we do. They can't do what we do in PEPFAR, where they extended the life span of a number of Africans by 20 years. They're trying to replicate that. They're trying to match what we do. So that's what we're seeing as we start to fold in the capabilities of USAID under State Department. China's trying to exploit that scene.
And do you agree that it would be a huge loss if we don't continue many of those programs?
Trying to replicate what capabilities USAID was very successful across a number of years. They're trying to replicate that, whether it's in health diplomacy or any development type programs. They're trying to use that as extension of the Belt and Road Initiative to gain favor by the African countries.
And they would you say it's not principally altruistic on the part of the Chinese communists?
Chairman, I'd say that they've made some missteps in the last couple of weeks, especially in Zambia with that spillage into the river that affects 5 million people. So they're getting a horrible start using a tracking
analogy. But they do it in their own self-interest, the Chinese.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And
rat, the whole rat. That white man, Mr. Wicker, like, hey, hold on, let me pause right there. That white man, Mr. Wicker, like, bro, like you. So you hating that the Africans is getting help from the Chinese, bro? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning conversation. This niggas say they got minerals over there and they value their minerals over there. Why you work? Bro, if the minerals is developing and growing and been in Africa, why is he talking to crackers like that? Why is he talking to crackers like that? They got minerals over there, they trying to get some military upgrades. Why you snitching to the white man? Have to put him in check. So is China doing that willingly? Yeah. All right. So it's not. So they not. China is not forcing Africa to do nothing. You just over here ratting. Go ahead.
Well, it's something that governments always look at is, who's trying to get allies where, what are they promising them, what are they delivering to them. This is everyday stuff.
Uncle Chip, this is a black man speaking, Uncle Chip, about his own people to crackers, Uncle Chip.
Well, so I mean, you have white crackers, and you have yellow crackers, and you have brown crackers. I mean,
right. He is a brown cracker, Uncle Chip.
Actually, that terminology came from this part of the world, Sean, because you have when Fort Myers first got started, the cowboys in this part of the world moved cows around by cracking whips. So it had nothing to do with the color of the skin. It was the job description. And instead of riding the range with a lasso, they walked their horses and cracked whips to move the cows down the road from Fort Myers down to Punta Rasa to get them onto ships to ship them around in ships from southern Florida to the slaughterhouses in the East Coast. So that's where the name Cracker comes from.
All right, Silk. I'll let you. How you feel about all of this, Silk? What we got going on? You gotta unmute your mic. I seen that snow bunny in the background. Gotta unmute your mic, Silk.
My mic is on mute.
Now I'm talking about Silk.
Okay.
Silk, you there? All right, we'll come back to you. All right, Uncle Harold, you there? I see you keep dropping. Ah, yeah, Uncle Harold dropping off. I don't know, Uncle Harold. You got to get out the Android, Uncle Harold. It's probably the Android. Uncle Chip, you got an iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a. All right.
Mic check, mic check.
All right, go ahead, Silk.
Hear you.
Yeah, man. So what you said, whatever you say, he out there singing, huh? He's singing like a canary in front of the man.
Man, you hear
He out there sounding off.
they trying to gain economics. They trying to.
He said China had the spill though, right? And they didn't clean. What he said, it hurt a lot of the people.
China has a habit of over-promising and under-delivering in a number of countries. I said China was going to do a canal through Nicaragua, go through Lake Nicaragua, a place I've actually been, and run a canal through Lake Nicaragua out the other side from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and they thought it would be much bigger and much easier to do than the Panama Canal. But the problem is that there's the Lake Nicaragua is very polluted, so they'd have to clean that up. And then they found problems with introducing fish from the Pacific to the Atlantic, and introduce invasive species of fish and plants into Nicaragua that would cost them potentially huge amounts of money to deal with once the ships bring these invasive species out from one ocean and bring them to another. And they hadn't figured out that side of things, which is less a problem in the Panama Canal because of the lock system. They're moving things up and up and up, and a lot of this stuff gets washed out along the way. And of course, the environmental situation in Panama is nothing like the environmental situation in Nicaragua. Nicaragua is raw sewage everywhere. And that was a Chinese project. They announced it, they promised big, then they dropped out, then they came in, then they dropped out. They're overextended and underfunded. Can you hear me?
Which
let me share my
are there success stories for the citizens of African countries when these larger, more prosperous nations or companies from more prosperous areas come in and exploit these minerals? What I'm asking is that does it ever redound to the benefit of the citizens there in Africa?
Chairman, there's very few cases.
You hear this goofy? China over there building freeways. The white man just asked this house nigga, do you think what any of these countries are doing over there is benefiting the citizens? He gonna say in a few cases, bro. You're not even over there. Look at your head. You look like a brown Eminem. You got an Eminem head. Listen to this goofy. You don't even know what's going on. How you gonna speak for us?
When the Chinese Communist Party is outed on them pulling out raw materials, not benefiting the populations of the host country, they've been trying to come up with ways how they can stay there and process only at the protests of the people of these African countries that host these mineral resources.
All right, so when they end their citizenship, it is time for them to go. But brother, you can't say what these other countries are doing are not helping the citizens, brother. You make no sense, brother. When they bring these cars over here, when they bring when they build these railroads and schools and colleges, come on, brother. You gotta cut it out. You being a coon in front of all of these white folks, brother. Get him, Uncle Chip.
Well, I have to say, I don't know that much about Burkina Faso to know what actually is going on with the development. Let's take a look and see if there's anything there that that can tell us.
All right. It says they restored diplomatic ties with China in 2018 and have since established a strategic partnership. China has been actively engaged with Burkina Faso through media and multilateral forums. Let me look up Russia.
Well, let's see. Here's something. The African Development Bank.
Say it again, Uncle Chip.
African Development Bank. This is in May 2024.
Okay. Oh, you want me to look it up, or you was gonna read?
Well, I'll print it and send it to you. Hold on.
African Bank.
African Development Bank. Let's see if I can find a way. Okay, Burkina Faso and the African Bank of Development have proceeded on the 21st of May 2024 in Ouagadougou. The simultaneous launch of Project 2 of a program of reinforcing the resilience against food insecurity and nutrition in the Sahel, including Burkina Faso, and the integrated project of developing chains of value of corn, soy, fowl, and fish. The launch ceremony was presided by Amadou Diko, Minister Delegate to the Minister of the Burkina Minister of Agriculture, Animal Resources, and the word I'm not quite sure of, Ariutik. I think that might be wind, something to do with wind resources, charged with animal resources, and in the presence of Daniel Ndoye, responsible of the Office of the African Bank of Development in Burkina, and Madame Mamunata Kiemtore, representative of the governor of the region of the center, and Ali Badara Traoré, General Secretary of the National Chamber of Agriculture. So that was one project that they had going, but those are all tradition. That's really traditional stuff, mostly.
All right,
trying.
check this out. So check this out. China is involved in infrastructure projects in Burkina Faso, particularly in the energy and communication sectors. For example, China provided funding for a 4 MW solar power plant in Bazega and also contributed to the laying of fiber optic cables for improved internet infrastructure. Additionally, China has expressed interest in cooperation with Burkina Faso under the Belt and Road Initiative, particularly in healthcare and infrastructure. All right, so China is helping out this house nigga up in there talking about China trying to be like us. China nigga, US ain't in Burkina Faso land no Wi-Fi. What is he talking about? Now let's go this. Yes, Russia is providing support to Burkina Faso, including infrastructure development, although the exact nature and extent of this support is still evolving. Russia is also actively involved in military cooperation with Burkina Faso. That's what I was talking about. Putin's sending them soldiers over there to help out because they know what's going on. Burkina Faso and Russia have signed memorandums of understanding focusing on education and training, infrastructure developments, and public opinion related to peaceful uses of nuclear technology. This includes cooperation on accessing and developing nuclear infrastructure, military cooperation. Russia has been sending military personnel, supplies, and infrastructure to Burkina Faso to help the country boost its defense capabilities to fight terrorism. In late 2023 and early 2024, Russian military personnel arrived in the country, signaling a growing military alliance. All right, I'm gonna stop right there. So
I found something else about that.
all right.
There was let's see. I think this one is the USA. Let me go back and look just to be sure. No, let's see. It's published by the French Agency of Development. So they're looking at loaning 80 million euros to the government of Burkina, with several goals. One is to build and rehabilitate 13 kilometers of roads in order to link the various neighborhoods between them and the center of town. Develop 3 secondary centers in order to avoid massive displacement toward the center of town. They are trying to help them manage public space.
Uncle Chip, you said this is France.
This is a French aid agency that's doing 80 million euros of this stuff, and they're also
check this out, Uncle Chip. Burkina Faso don't want France help. Check this out. Burkina Faso has been actively working to reduce its reliance on France, including terminating a military agreement and withdrawing French troops. This has been occupied by a shift towards closer ties with Russia and other countries in the region. In January 2023, Burkina Faso's military government officially terminated its military agreement with France. The decision followed a period of growing anti-French sentiment in the country, fueled by demonstrations and attack on French cultural centers. Burkina Faso has been actively seeking military ties with Russia, even sending delegations to Moscow for discussions. Burkina Faso has accused French officials of espionage, leading to arrest and expulsion. The country continued to seek closer relations with Russia and other regional partners, while also engaging in ongoing efforts to address the humanitarian crisis and secure the country from terrorist groups. So, Uncle Chip, I don't know if you understand what's going on in Burkina Faso, but they trying to kick the French out. They trying to kick the U.S. and the French out. Matter of fact, Africa as a whole trying to kick the goddamn French, Dutch, and U.S. all them Western ties out. They only.
Well, I don't think they're going to complain about. I don't think they're going to complain about road work or developing central business districts or putting in drainage in drainage ditches or or clearing away debris, planting
Uncle Chip,
trees and things like that.
Uncle Chip, my people is accusing the French of espionage. So the French need to get the hell out. Accusing the French of expulsion and espionage. Uncle Chip.
So what are what are the French going to discover while they're planting trees for public parks and gardens? Are they going to are they going to find military secrets somewhere under
This what I'm saying, Uncle
where the
Chip.
earthworms are?
This what I'm saying, Uncle Chip.
When they move the
If
earthworms,
you got a
are they going to tell the military secrets?
This what I'm saying, Uncle Chip. This what I'm saying, Uncle Chip. If you got a lawn care provider, right? You got a lawn care provider, you pay them every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And this lawn care provider is, you got a shed in your backyard. You got raw materials in your shed, right? You got metals in your shed, gemstones, all type of stuff in your shed in the backyard. Now this lawn care provider is coming over every 2 weeks. He's making your yard look spotless. He's cleaning up the trees. He's shaping the bushes into cartoon characters. He's doing everything. He's carving your name into the grass. Uncle Chip, once you find out that he doing all this goddamn great work, you go into your shed, you start seeing stuff missing. One by one, after he coming back, you going into your shed, you still seeing stuff missing, Uncle Chip. It don't matter how nice he making your goddamn yard, Uncle Chip. He's stealing from you. So it don't matter how nice the French is making freeways and roads and drainage. If they stealing from us, if they commit espionage and treason, then they got to get the hell out and go back where they came from, Uncle Chip. It's only right.
Well, I think that it's that you're looking at the theater and you're not necessarily looking at the reality. The reality is that they've got to improve. Now, whether they join up with the French militarily or they join up with the Russians, in the long scheme of things, for Africa, it doesn't. I mean, those people are so damn poor they can't pay attention. So,
Uncle Chip, who is bored? They can't pay attention.
They are so poor they can't pay attention.
Uncle Chip, no, that is not true, Uncle Chip. You gotta ask yourself why they poor. It's because they've been getting raped and pillaged and plundered, Uncle Chip, by other countries.
Well, there's going to be some of that, but Burkina Faso has been, that part of Africa is the poorest area in the world.
Why though, Uncle Chip? We gotta address why.
Many
this
things.
part of Africa, Uncle Chip. You gotta address why this part of Africa is the poorest in the world, Uncle Chip.
Many things. Culturally, political development, political history. There's lots and lots and lots of reasons why.
It's only one reason that I can think of, Uncle Chip, and that's because they've been placed at a disadvantage by slavery, Uncle Chip. Sub-Saharan, the Atlantic, the Pacific, all them goddamn slave trades winded through Central and West Africa, Uncle Chip.
But slavery in the French domains was abolished in 1840 something. It was done before the Civil War.
So the whole time, 400 years, 300 something years of European slavery and 1,000 years are still going right now of Arab slavery, Uncle Chip, and you want to say the country is poor? It's a reason why, Uncle Chip. They've been having their foot on their neck.
There is slavery.
Let me say why. They've been having their foot on their neck by people that say they love God.
Well, yes, there's slavery. There's slavery in the area, but slavery now in Africa is a crime of opportunity. If people are leaving these poor areas and going into Arab areas, trying to get to the Mediterranean coast and catch a boat to go over to Italy, Greece, or France, they sometimes have gotten snapped up in this, especially in Mauritania and in Tripoli. The whole Marine Corps of the shores of Tripoli in the late 1700s, early 1800s, they were grabbing crackers off of ships to make them slaves. And of course, Thomas Jefferson sent U.S. warships to tell them to knock it off, and they did. But now you have poor black people going from these subsets to Europe, and some of them have been enslaved when they got to Tripoli.
All right,
And there are people.
All right, Uncle Chip. Let me I'm gonna get into something you said earlier. Let me just let you know this, Uncle Chip. In all of Africa, specifically on that goddamn coast, Uncle Chip, fish is plentiful. Corn, all of them grains is plentiful, Uncle Chip. They don't need China or the French to import corn into Burkina Faso or nowhere in Africa. They don't need fish. They don't need the French or China to import fish nowhere in Africa. Fish is plentiful in Africa. We keep the goddamn fish, Uncle Chip. We keep the corn is naturally grown in Burkina Faso, Uncle Chip. So I don't know what you was reading, talking about they was donating corn and fish, Uncle Chip.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What they're doing is they're fixing 13 kilometers of roads. They're developing 3 urban centers in order to give people a chance to work closer to where they live rather than go to the center of town every day. And they're rehabilitating certain areas of public space, drainage, tree planting.
That was that last one you read. I'm talking about what you read before that. You brought up fish and was you talking about China?
Well, no, I was talking about the Bank of Africa.
Bank of Africa, right? And that's between Africa and who?
Those are countries in Africa that are trying to help each other.
Okay, I got you.
So it's Burkina Faso and the African Bank of Development, which is an institution that's run by African countries, and they're trying to develop resilience to food insecurity and nutritional insecurity in the Sahel. And apparently Burkina Faso, the Sahel is dry. I mean, sometimes you get enough rain and sometimes you don't. And they're also trying to develop supply chains for corn, soybeans, chicken, and fish. But I think Burkina Faso is landlocked. I don't think they're on the coast at all.
No, I was speaking of Africa and basically that area.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't generalize.
Why you can't generalize, Uncle Chip? If fish, hold on, real quick. Let me show you a map of Africa, real quick.
I think Burkina Faso is landlocked. Yes. It's a landlocked country. It's surrounded by Mali, Niger, Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Ivory Coast.
But hold on, Uncle Chip. Ivory Coast, that's all on the coast.
Ivory Coast is.
Uncle Chip, it's landlocked by countries that's on the coast, Uncle Chip. Now look at this.
Look at this. I'm looking at the map right now.
Let me say Uncle Chip, it's not far from the water, Uncle Chip. That's what I'm saying.
It's farther than you think.
It's not farther than you think when we talking about we do this every day, Uncle Chip. Look at this. This is the Atlantic Ocean right here. Now, I ain't even pull up the creeks and the rivers that flow to the Atlantic Ocean. But I'm just showing you how close Burkina Faso is to the water, Uncle Chip.
It's not quite what you think.
I didn't say it was on the coast. I didn't say it was on the coast. I just said
I understand. I understand that, but the problem is the roads are absolute shit over there. Togo. I said the roads are absolute crap. You take the little absolute crap. Yes, take the little country of Togo.
Uncle Chip. China been helping out since 2023, Uncle Chip.
But it takes years to build a good freeway.
Uncle Chip, it take about 6 months to 8 months to build a good freeway, Uncle Chip.
The interstate highway system in the USA started in 1955 and ended in 1975. So it took 20 years to build. The Pan American freeway system through Mexico down to Tierra del Fuego was decades in the making. And you have to understand, you have to say, well, what kind of resources are available for building in different parts of the world? You know, the U.S. has orders of magnitude more resources to dedicate in road building than some poor place like Burkina Faso, where people are working by hand. They're working by hand in places like Nicaragua. They don't have machines. They're digging holes, mixing cement in barrels and pouring it out and spreading it.
Uncle Chip, China is in Burkina Faso right now. It's not what you think, Uncle Chip.
Well, my cousin, actually my second cousin, was married to the head of station of the CIA, and their last tour of duty before they went to Paris was in Togo. He was the ambassador of Togo. Togo being a small enough country that they don't have a political appointee. They have a regular Foreign Service officer who's appointed the ambassador of the place. And they told me that travel from the coast in Togo to the end of the country took 2 days. It took 2 days to travel. It took 2 days to travel something like 200 miles.
All right, Uncle Chip. Burkina Faso has 3 main rivers: the Black Volta, the Red Volta, and the White Volta. The White Volta goes through Gabon, Ghana. The Black Volta goes hold up. The Red Volta goes through West Africa. The White Volta goes through Ghana and Ghana main waterway. Uncle Chip, this is what I'm telling you, Uncle Chip. Fish is plentiful in Burkina Faso, Uncle Chip. Fish is plentiful all around Africa. We got plenty of fish.
You have to ask what the state of the water is.
Pink fish. What color fish do you need, Uncle Chip? We got it all for you in Africa.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
Hey, Uncle Chip, I just think it's crazy that, like, as far as mainstream media, we'll be thinking like not to like certain countries, and then you find out they be doing like what Putin doing, sending them goons over there, what China doing, giving Burkina Faso Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then you got them trying to kick out the French, kick out the Dutch, kick out the English.
Well, they're perfectly free to do that. I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here praising the French.
There we go.
I'm not sitting here saying the French are wonderful. I mean, they do good things. They do bad things. You look at what they do. If it, you say they promised this. Did they do it? They say they're building this in 2023. Did they do it? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, we see these things. We see an announcement. It takes time for this stuff to do, and some of it's complete, some of it's incomplete. Sometimes the government changes. Sometimes somebody else comes along and wants a bigger bribe, and the country says, "To hell with you! I'm not paying you." And they say, "Well, then don't build your crap around us." We don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know in that part of the world, and I don't read African news constantly. I mean, because we're here online. I'm looking up stuff in French, and stuff that you might not know because I can look up the French sources, and the French have always been more involved in that part of the world than the U.S. has. So I mean, but I do know that they're having a real problem of insecurity. That's a big problem for them. And whether the French didn't help them or did help them, when you see rivers, you want to ask, are they clean enough to fish? Let's figure that one out. How polluted
Uncle Chip, cut it out, Uncle Chip.
are
If that's the case, the damn Atlantic Ocean is polluted for all them damn U.S. ships coming through here, polluting our goddamn water. Uncle Chip, are you serious?
Yeah, you have to know what the state of the environment is.
Uncle Chip,
Okay, here, listen to this. Listen to this.
all right.
In Burkina Faso, mercury and cyanide, highly toxic chemicals used in mineral processing, are ending up in the country's surface and groundwater, condemning current and future generations to terrible water problems and a health catastrophe. This is from 2023, December 2023.
Yeah, that's all right. So look right here. We got Black Volta going right off in the Ivory Coast into the Atlantic Ocean. We got the White Volta going right through Ghana, going into the Atlantic Ocean. And they got the Red Volta cutting off right here. But talk about a overlux of fish, Uncle Chip. We talking about we can eat for days. And just
how much of this nice little cyanide do you want to eat?
Say it again, Uncle Chip.
I said, how much cyanide would you like for your breakfast?
Oh nah, Uncle Chip, that's propaganda. That's fake news. See what we
No,
gotta
it's not
understand.
fake news.
This is what we gotta understand, Uncle Chip. This is what we gotta understand. What we gotta understand, Uncle Chip, is that if it's anything getting spilled into our waters, it ain't us doing it. We ain't the adventurous type. That is not, you know what I'm saying, what we own, Uncle Chip. You know what I'm saying?
This is a government publication.
That's these cargo ships. Remember the cargo ships ran into the bridge? That's these cargo ships, Uncle Chip, that's messing up.
I'm looking at the water. I'm looking at the water. Believe me, you would not go fishing.
What water are you looking at?
I'm going to send this to you.
Nah, just tell me what you're looking at. What river? What land of water?
Well, let's see if I can figure this out. I'm looking at two pictures of water in Burkina Faso. Let's see what they have. They say right now they do not have, as of 2023, the technical capacity to clean up water contaminated with heavy metals. The principle, legally enshrined since 2009, is still not enforced for lack of an implementing decree. The result.
All right, hold up. Uncle Chip, where's that source coming from? Who wrote that source? A European?
No, it's Mines. Let's see, who is this?
Right. Who the hell is that?
Hey, Wavy. Hey, Wavy. I just wanted to correct something just real quick. I'm gonna say corn is not a natural resource to Burkina Faso or Africa. Corn is from America. Pearl millet, sorghum, and cotton is a natural resource to that area. Like corn is not from Africa at all.
Nah, basically what I was saying was corn is grown in Burkina Faso right now. That's what I was saying. We don't need another country to import corn into Burkina Faso now.
It's probably sorghum though. Sorghum is related to corn. It kind of look like corn, but it ain't really corn.
I already looked it up. Corn is grown in Burkina Faso right now.
Oh yeah, probably from the Colombian exchange, some shit like that. A long time ago.
But Burkina Faso is a big gold producer. Gold production has enabled Burkina Faso to become a mining giant, rating 5th in Africa.
Yeah, they got a lot of mining there, like a lot of different minerals and shit like that.
Gold produced industrially in Burkina Faso contributed almost 15% to government revenue in 2020, compared with 19.5% in 2021, according to reports by the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative of Burkina Faso. Now here's what their national government says. For
When you
every
done, you got to break that down. When you done, you got to break that down, Uncle Chip.
20% of their budget is gold.
Okay, okay.
And then they say the process for producing gold produces 2 grams of mercury for every gram of gold, which goes into the environment. Mercury is a heavy-duty pollutant. And this is from the National Water Policy document published by the Ministry of Agriculture, Water Resource, Sanitation, and Food Security of the country. So it's Burkina Faso reporting the escape of mercury into their soil and water. So it's not the French. It's not the French who's spilling the bullshit. The national people are talking about it.
So you saying to make the gold they spilling mercury in a is that what you saying, Uncle Chip?
Yes, mercury and cyanide.
So they spilling mercury and cyanide into the water in order to make the gold. That's what you're saying, Uncle Chip?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to look that up, but just to get a little understanding, who wrote that article that you got? What is his name? Do he have an African name or a European name?
Looks like an African name, Eli Kabor.
He must be compromised, Uncle Chip. He tripping.
Well, I don't think he's tripping. I think this is a real story.
So let me ask you this: what you think will be the solution to that issue?
The solution to the issue is bringing technology to Burkina Faso to clean up the waters of the country, to water treatment to get rid of the mercury and the cyanide, and to restore the water something to where the fish the one fish, the red fish, the one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish can grow in those rivers.
All right, so Uncle Chip, in that article, what body of water are they say that is getting polluted?
Well, they're not being specific, but they're talking about they're talking about the country's surface and groundwater. The surface water certainly includes those rivers you're talking about.
Uncle Chip, he just pleading for help. You know, some of our people will beg, Uncle Chip. He just pleading for help. That's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to plead for help.
Well, let's see. So they're talking about in 2001, they adopted law number 002/2001 on the orientation law for water management, which had the merit of establishing the principle of financing the water sector through a parafiscal tax. They, in 2009, they passed another parafiscal tax known as the Water Financial Contribution financière en matière d'eau for the benefit of water agencies. The tax has 3 components: a tax on the abstraction of raw water, a tax on water pollution, and a tax on changes to the water regimes. According to Mustafa Congo, Technical Secretary for Integrated Water Resources Management, the CFE is a mechanism for sovereign and sustainable financing of measures to protect and safeguard Burkina Faso's water resources. But of the 3 components, only the user pays is optional, is in operation. The other 2 have not been applied for the lack of an integrating decree. I mean, there's a lot of inertia in these places because 20% of the budget is a big number. That pays for a lot of bribes, it pays for a lot of politicians, and they say, we can delay this or slow walk these laws. And
All right, Uncle Chip. I got you. Now, I got a source that's gonna combat your source. You ready?
Well, let's see what it is.
The reason why Burkina Faso is facing a water problem, you gonna say it's because they making gold. I'm gonna say it's because of overpopulation and conflict, terrorism, and all of these people messing with us. Now let me share my screen.
Well, I mean, I agree that the population is increasing rapidly. They've had something like a 25% increase in the population of the capital city in just a few years.
we got to talk about why the population is getting increased, Uncle Chip. We got to talk about that. And this ain't no new babies. This violence, Uncle Chip. We talk about violence right now. Now let's go.
Well, but the violence doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, young people are violent too.
Uncle Chip, you said we was making gold causing the water to be bad. I'm showing you it's because of violence. Now this is my source right here. It's on the screen. Since 2018, the Sahel region of Burkina Faso has been plagued by violence between various armed groups and the Burkinese armed forces. The fighting has created a serious humanitarian crisis with large-scale displacement and the arrival of refugees from neighboring Niger and Mali. More than 350,000 are currently displaced in the Sahel, around a third of the region's total population, and 628,000 people are in need of assistance of water, hygiene, and sanitation. In both areas with ongoing violence and those hosting thousands of displaced people, access to basic services is a big challenge, and the health risks are enormous. So Uncle Chip, this ain't got nothing to do with us tapping into our natural resources, Uncle Chip. This got something to do, Uncle Chip, with displacement, people getting ran out of their countries. Why do you think they getting ran out of their countries, Uncle Chip? Now, Arabs trying to take over Africa, Uncle Chip. Is clear and plain to see. Egypt is not even called Egypt no more, Uncle Chip. It's called Egypt de Muhammad now, Uncle Chip. This is what I'm saying to you, Uncle Chip.
But Egypt is a long way from Burkina Faso.
I'm just letting you know how the invaders come in. They come in and start switching shit around. Now your TV is where your couch is at, and your couch is where your TV was at. But like I was saying, Uncle Chip, what we got to understand is this displacement is messing with the government, Uncle Chip. It's messing with the natural resources. It's messing with everything. We got 24. Imagine, Uncle Chip, you trying to cut your grass and the drive-by going on. Goddamn helicopter dropping aid going down. You got hit with a care package, Uncle Chip. Imagine all this going on. All you trying to do, Uncle Chip, is cut your grass, Uncle Chip, and wash your car.
I guess I have to send a few magazines downstream to clear the people out of the way so I can get the rinse and the wax in the car.
Uncle Chip.
But it's not one or another. It's both and. I mean, I already told you before I looked up anything that Burkina Faso is being invaded by Islamists. And so they're being polite in the source you use. They talk about armed groups like Al Qaeda in the Sahel, and armed groups like Boko Haram. And then you have fights between them and the animists and the Christians in Burkina Faso. So yes, absolutely. There's 350,000 refugees both from outside the country and from inside the country. Absolutely, I agree with you. But there's another problem, which is while they're trying to make a living, they're polluting their water. And here's another statement. You talk about the rivers, but here's what the Ministry of Water says in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is not a country rich in water resources. Fulgence Tiki, former technical advisor to the Ministry of Water, points out most of Burkina Faso's water resources comes from rainfall, and that this water flows to neighboring countries such as Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. Pascal Nakohun, Director of Water Studies and Information at the Ministry of Water, says,
Uncle Chip, I just told you.
One more sentence.
All right.
Our country receives about 200 billion cubic meters of water in the form of rain, but we don't even retain more than 10 billion. So they get 200 billion and 190 billion leaves the country.
All right, let me ask let me ask Google this quick question because I ain't about to speak out of turn, but I think we already went over this. Let me see. Uncle Chip, Burkina
Yeah.
Faso. Let me share my screen. Let me share my goddamn screen. He talking about they get their damn water from rainfall. Y'all hear Uncle Chip in here tripping tonight. Uncle Chip been drinking tonight, y'all. Look. Burkina Faso gets water from its rivers, particularly from the Volta River system. The country's three major rivers, the Black, White, and Red Volta, are contributaries of the Volta, and the Black and White Volta carrying water year-round. However, water resources are scarce, and many rivers dry up during the dry seasons, leading
There
to
you go.
reliance. Hold up, listen. Leading to reliance on other water sources like pumps. Now, a pump is not some goddamn rainwater, Uncle Chip.
It used to be rainwater until it got into the ground.
There you go, Uncle Chip.
It used to be rainwater. It gets onto the earth. It seeps into the earth. It gets down and eventually forms aquifers, and collects in rock strata. And then if you drill a well that reaches down to where the water is, you can pump up the accumulated water over hundreds of years for the use of today. But that is, I mean, it's nice to have. You want to have, but it's not this bonanza of water that you're thinking about. And so here's another thing. Here's going on farther. The greatest threat to the little water that remains is the behavior of users, including mining operators. Pura.
Come on now, Uncle Chip. You can't do us like that.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just telling you what one fish, blue fish, red fish, one fish, two fish, red fish,
Uncle Chip,
two fish
is
are.
scarce. Water is scarce in Mississippi. People still fish on the Mississippi River, Uncle Chip. So you gotta understand, Uncle Chip, that you gotta look at it the same way we're looking at it over here, Uncle Chip.
But the Mississippi River, they have over the years made some efforts to clean it. They've put in
Flint, Michigan, yellow water.
No, Flint, Michigan is a catastrophe. Jackson, Mississippi is a catastrophe, but that is because, like these places, like these places, they have not dedicated
resources. They don't have a mind, Uncle Chip. They got the technology, Uncle Chip. This America.
But they haven't applied what's available to solve their problems. That's why they've got problems.
Right.
Now, Burkina Faso is one of the poorest countries in the world. You cannot expect one of the poorest countries in the world, who makes 20% of the national budget from gold. I mean, gold speaks loudly in Burkina Faso.
And we gotta explain why they one of the poorest countries in the world, Uncle Chip. We'll be remiss to not do that, Uncle Chip.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Why is Burkina Faso poor?
Slavery, Uncle Chip.
Well, let's take a look. Let's explore. Let's be a little bit. Why is Burkina Faso?
Invasions and slavery.
Let's take a look. Okay, here's a project. Here's what the Borgen is. Borgen is the name of Burkina Faso's Human Development Index value ranks 185 out of 188 countries. That is very, very low. According to the United Nations Development Program, Burkina Faso received a rating of 0.402 in 2015. This is an improvement from 2005, when Burkina Faso was given a score of 0.325. The poverty statistics are subject to significant fluctuation. They report roughly 45% of Burkinabe live below the poverty line, but a sizable portion of households teeter just above this line. So small variations in household income significantly affect the actual number of those living in poverty. They have had economic growth. Their economy is expanding 4% a year. But this is because of urbanization, so they're doing higher value work, and the agricultural and mining sectors have improved. But they have very high fertility rates. They have 5 children per woman in 2015. By contrast, the United States has 1.6 or 1.7 children per couple, or 1.6 or 1.7 children per woman. So the USA has less than 2, and Burkina Faso has almost 3 times that the natality of a USA woman. So even though the country grows at 6%, increased family size negate the positive impact of this economic growth. So
Uncle
if you
Chip,
have kids,
Uncle
if
Chip,
you have lots of kids, you're going to be poor.
Uncle Chip, Burkina Faso just got out of slavery 60 years ago. You got to cut it out. You got to cut
No,
it out.
they got out of slavery. They got out of pure slavery in the 1840s.
You just said it take 200 years to build a freeway.
No, it doesn't take 200 years, but it
What you
takes
said,
20.
100 years?
20.
Okay, you said it take 20 years to build a freeway. Uncle Chip, they only could have built 3 freeways if they had to take. Uncle Chip, this is what I'm telling you, Uncle Chip. Burkina Faso, formerly Upper Volta, gained independence from France in 1960, marking the end of French colonial rule, which included the abolition of slavery. While slavery has been formally outlawed by the French in the colonial period, its effects and various forms of forced labor continue to exist in some areas. Now look, Burkina Faso in Africa is trying to kick the French out. Why would we gain our independence 60 years ago and still want your red ass in our goddamn country 60 years later? Brother, you scarred us. Get out of here. What are you doing in here? Get the hell out. Matter of fact, before we get crazy with you. Now, this is what's going on, Uncle Chip. You want to know why Burkina Faso is so poor? Well, Uncle Chip, they just got out of slavery 60 years ago, Uncle Chip.
Well, no, it was in the colonial area.
They have had another country with a foot on their neck, Uncle Chip.
They also have very low educational enrollment.
Why do you think so, Uncle Chip? If I just got out of slavery 60 years ago, Uncle Chip, we don't know where my mind is at, Uncle Chip. Everybody over there probably walking around upside down, scared of the white man still. Uncle Chip, it's only been 60 years, Uncle Chip. My mama not even 60, Uncle Chip.
The vast majority of Burkinabe poor don't have electricity. Less than 5% of the poorest households are connected to the national electric grid, whereas over 50% of the wealthy have access to these grids. But if you're talking about 50% of the rich of Burkina Faso have electricity, being rich in that country is not
Uncle
very
Chip,
high living.
I discussed this already. That's why China is in Burkina Faso right now, Uncle Chip. China is bringing the technology. Russia is bringing the arms. You get me?
Well, I mean, we'll just have to see what China has a habit of over-promising and under-delivering. So we'll see what they do. I mean, maybe they want. I mean, obviously, Burkina Faso would like help from wherever they can get it. That they're going to take the Agency for Development of France. They're going to take their 80 million euros and get
Yeah,
what they
they got
can
to take
out of
that,
it.
take that somewhere else. Go bribe another country. Go bribe India. Now check this
Well, they're
out.
not.
Limited.
India has a lot more money than this.
Check this out. Limited infrastructure. Inadequate infrastructure, including roads, electricity, and telecommunication, hinders economic development. Now, they was just in slavery 60 years ago. Let's keep that in rate.
Well, no, I mean,
Low literacy rate. A low literacy rate restricts human capital development and limits economic opportunity. Check this out. Governance challenges. Remember we was talking about them coups, sending them coups over here to our people. Weak governance and corruption can impede economic development and investment. Now let's talk about blackball. I mean, let's talk about black, what they call it, you blackball. Yeah, blackball. Now look, the country's export economy is heavily reliant on a narrow range of commodities, making it vulnerable to price fluctuations on the global market. Uncle Chip, when we was talking about the people that's been privileged, plummeted, taken advantage of, distressed, rinsed out like a wash rag, Uncle Chip, and we just now trying to build ourselves back up, Uncle Chip. That's what's going on. So it's not about why they so poor, unless we're gonna talk about what happened 60 years ago, Uncle Chip. That's more so the reason. It's the French. The French is why they so poor, Uncle Chip. And imagine if somebody shot your brother, Uncle Chip. Imagine if somebody, your next door neighbor, shot your brother. You wouldn't want to stay by that man no more, Uncle Chip. So imagine he shot your brother and you got to deal with him still staying next door to you, Uncle Chip. No, Uncle Chip, you want some get back. You want to put some belt to ass. Am I right, Uncle Chip?
It depends on how it would depend on the quality of the gun I have to deal with, I suppose.
Uncle Chip, you're gonna have a chopper. You're gonna have a Draco.
So let's take a look. When did slavery end?
1960.
No.
In
No.
Burkina Faso, 1960.
No.
All right, Uncle Chip. Don't get done up.
It was let's see where we go.
1960 from France.
No, that's when they were independent. That's when they got independence. That doesn't have anything to do with slavery.
Marking the end of French colonial rule, which included the abolishing of slavery. Once they gained their independence, that included the abolishment of slavery, Uncle Chip.
Slavery was abolished before then.
What year?
I'm looking.
Hold up. I'm gonna show you. I put it on the screen. It all happened in 1960.
That's when they got independence. That's not when slavery was abolished.
Now look, let me read it. Burkina Faso, formerly Upper Volta, gained independence from France in
Independence from France in
Hold up, listen. Marking the end of French colonial rule,
yes.
which included the abolishing of slavery, which included.
I'm looking. Hold on. I'll find it. Okay, in 1841, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, Prussia, and Austria signed the Quintuple Treaty, agreeing to suppress the slave trade. That was 1841.
Uncle Chip, that ain't got nothing to do with France and Burkina Faso. You know
Yes.
that, Uncle Chip. When slavery was abolished, was it still going on in the South?
Okay, here we go. 1847.
Okay, here we go.
1847. Slavery abolished in the French colonies. 1847. Gabon is founded as a settlement for emancipated slaves. So slavery was abolished in the French colonies in 1847.
Uncle Chip,
But,
it went back into effect in 1896.
well, let's take a look. I don't think so.
Yeah. Take a look. 1896 to 1960. And they say it's still going on in some efforts today. It's still going on today.
I'm looking, but I don't think so. I think it was abolished in 1847. Let's see if
And
it
it
got
came back in 1896
Let's take a look.
by the French. Come on now, Uncle
Let's
Chip.
see. In 1890, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Portugal, Congo, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Russia, Austria, Hungary, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, United States, Ottoman Empire, Zanzibar, and Persia uh, passed the Brussels Conference Act, a collection of anti-slavery measures to put an end to the slave trade on land and sea, especially in the Congo Basin, the Ottoman Empire, and the East African coasts. So 1896, slavery was abolished in Madagascar. No, there wasn't anything about reestablishing slavery in the French colonies.
You said in 1896, what was abolished?
In 1896, there was the Brussels Conference, which was a collection of anti-slavery measures. They already had their anti-slavery conference, the first one in 1841.
And then they started enslaving motherfuckers again.
No, they abolished it in 1847.
All right, let's see what happened in 1896.
And I'm looking at 1896, and there's nothing about France there. The only thing that deals with France was in Madagascar. Madagascar slavery was.
I got something, Uncle Chip. It says in 1896, Burkina Faso was colonized by the French as part of the. This is what you need to look up: French West Africa, as part of French West Africa. Look that up, French West Africa. In 1958, Upper Volta became a self-governing colony within the French community. In 1960, it gained its full independence in 1960. Now look this up. Check this out. Burkina Faso gained independence from France in 1960, marking the end of French colonial rule, which included the abolishment of slavery. Now it goes even further, Uncle Chip. It says while slavery has been formally outlawed by French in the colonial period, its effect and various forms of forced labor continue to exist in some areas today.
Well, we know that there's different ways of there's different forms of exploiting people that don't have anything to do with slavery. There's sharecropping, there's debt slavery, there's microloans that people have to pay back at astronomical interest
Let me
rates.
ask you this, Uncle Chip. When slavery ended in America, was it still going on in the South?
Well, there were ways of keeping things going for a while. The chattel slavery was over officially, but there was like company stores and making loans to poor farmers, both black and white, and saying, well, now you got to pay me back, and then
That ain't what I'm talking about. So when slavery was over, when slavery was abolished in the United States, you telling me in the South they wasn't still, you know how we got Juneteenth, Uncle Chip?
Well, that was in Texas, wasn't it?
So I'm gonna ask the question again. When slavery was abolished in the US, was it still going on in the South? Texas is the South.
Yes, Texas is the South. Well, now what is the year? What year was Juneteenth?
Uncle Chip, this is just a simple question. I don't remember.
I asked you a simple question. What year was Juneteenth?
I don't remember, Uncle Chip. I think it was a year later after slavery was abolished.
Well, let's take a look.
But this is what I'm saying. If we could agree that slavery was still going on after, which we know it was because they got stories of slaves coming down and having to tell slaves you free. But since we know that that was going on, we could assume that it stopped in 1960. But from what we getting to understanding, it sounds like it stopped 40 years and then it started back up.
Juneteenth was June 19th, 1865. So the end of the Civil War was in April, and so Juneteenth was when Major General Gordon Granger ordered the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in Texas at the end of the Civil War. So Lincoln proclaimed the Emancipation Proclamation. It was an executive order. But at that point, he didn't have any authority to enforce it. He had just won the Battle of Antietam, and so he felt like it was enough of a victory that maybe it would help the North in the Civil War by attracting black enlistment into the Northern armies, and maybe it had some effect there. People who would try to escape go to the North and enlist on the side of the North. And so Lincoln thought that it would weaken the South and strengthen the North. But the Emancipation Proclamation in the slave states was enforced finally on Juneteenth, after the end of the war, when the federal government occupied the South and was able to enforce that the Southern slaves would be free.
What year was that again?
1865, the same year the war ended.
And what year did slavery end in the U.S.?
Let's see, when was the 13th Amendment passed? Okay. When was the 13th Amendment approved? Let's see. So the Emancipation Proclamation only covered Southern states. So the 13th Amendment was passed at the end of the Civil War, before the Southern states had been restored to the Union. Although the Senate passed it in April 1864, the House initially did not. Lincoln took an active role to ensure passage through Congress. He insisted that passage of the 13th Amendment be added to the Republican Party platform for the upcoming 1864 presidential election. His efforts met with success.
All right, Uncle Chip. So we both can agree that when slavery was abolished, it was still going on in the South. Now, what we saying now, the matter here is Burkina Faso. If I say they just got out of slavery 65 years ago, I'm really being nice.
No, I think I would say at the latest that they got out of slavery. Just looking over the it was officially abolished in 1847, and then it was re-abolished, put into more effect, because these things take time to force their way through. Re-abolished in 1905.
And then they got re-abolished in 1960.
Well, in 1960 they became independent.
Uncle Chip, let me read it. Let me read it one more time, because it said including slavery. Once they gained their independence, slavery was abolished. That's what it says right here, Uncle Chip.
Well, they abolished slavery in the independent government. Sure, why not? The independent government abolished slavery, but slavery had been abolished twice before in the French
Uncle Chip, you want to know what's crazy about this? Uncle Chip.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's very normal.
I'm gonna tell you what's the crazy thing about this, Uncle Chip, is it's French that keep enslaving them. Like, that's 3 times in 100 years.
Well, I mean, you had a colony, so I mean, you could say that they weren't exactly slaves, but they weren't self-governing. The French were governing them. They were
Who weren't exactly slaves?
well, they weren't rounded up and forced to work on a farm and told you can't leave and you can't be paid. It wasn't that sort of you belong to me slavery. But they weren't independent. They weren't completely on their own. They were
Uncle Chip. It was I'm gonna ship your ass off to a whole nother land you never seen before, and you about to belong to somebody else. I didn't got paid already. That's what's going on, Uncle Chip. All the way up
that
until
sort of thing.
1960.
No. That sort of thing had been abolished twice before. Once in 1841, and then they passed another law in 1905. And there was like 1 million slaves that were freed on that second
Uncle
passage.
Chip.
Of course, there was still informal slavery after that. There were still people who decided that it didn't matter what the
Uncle
government
Chip,
said.
that
They
ain't
were going to keep it.
we ain't dealing with hypotheticals. This is what we dealing with, Uncle Chip. We dealing with the French enslaving Burkina Faso 3 different times. Now, how long was it between they stopped and started again? It seemed like every 20 or every 30 years they would stop and start again, or something like that, or they would go for a little while. I mean, stop for a little while and then start back up. We clearly see this, Uncle Chip, and they say it wasn't abolished all the way until 1960. So maybe they were sending French back. Maybe they were sending these slaves back to France. We don't know where they were sending them. All we know was they wasn't not messing with them. They was definitely tempting with our people and using our people as items, Uncle Chip, all the way into.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Were people in French West Africa shipped to France to be slaves? Let's take a look. In the 20th century. Let's find that out.
Keep it specific. French and Burkina Faso. Because at that time it was called French West Africa.
Were French West Africans
were French shipping West Africans in the 1900s.
Shipped to France as slaves
in the 1900s.
In the 1900s.
Yes. Come on, Uncle Chip. It's too easy. What did it say, Uncle Chip?
I'm looking. Well, they're talking about the 18th century. Let's see, patrimoine partagé. Let's take a look. Between 1551 and 1875, 1,381,404 African people were transported by force to the New World on ships flying the French flag. So they didn't ship them to France, or at least not much. France was responsible for 11% of the transatlantic slave trade, which in total affected more than 12.5 million men, women, and children. But that's talking about all of them, 11% of 12.5 million. The first French slave trading voyages date to the second half of the 16th century.
Hey, Uncle Chip, I see something right here that says the French colonial regime introduced forced labor between the 1920s and 1940s as replacement for slavery, which, while not technically slavery, still involved exploitation of indigenous people. You heard about that?
Let's see, I'm still looking.
Maybe that's what we missing, Uncle Chip. I think they switched it up in the 1920s. Switched the lingo.
It says here the transatlantic slave trade continued illegally until the middle of the 19th century. So they're not telling us that they did it in the 20th century.
All right.
They're not giving 20th century transportation for slavery.
All right. It's say in the 1920s they. Let me share my screen. That's why we got to read between the lines, Uncle Chip. Check this out.
Let's see.
Oh, my bad.
Let's see. French West Africa, 1900 to 1950. Let's take a look.
They say the French colonial regime introduced forced labor between the 1920s and 1940s as a replacement for slavery, which, while not technically slavery, still involved exploitation of indigenous people. In 1905, France officially abolished indigenous slavery in its West African territories.
Still looking.
So it says, Uncle Chip, it say something about they changed the name to.
Between 1921 and 1932, the French recruited 127,250 men to work on the Congo Océan Railway, and inadequate food and poor health care caused many to die.
Say that again. Say that again.
Between 1921 and 1932, the French recruited 127,250 men to work on the Congo Ocean Railway. Inadequate food and poor health care caused many to die. Kojo
Hey man, that's
Tovalu
bad.
Uenu.
That's bad business right there, Uncle Chip. That's bad. How
It
you gonna make these dudes work a job and you ain't got inadequate food? That's a setup. You were still trying to treat them as slaves.
In 1924, the prophetic Carmu began preaching nonviolent resistance to the recruitment for railway labor, and by 1927, they had organized 350,000 people, including 60,000 warriors. Carnu was killed in December 1928, but the revolt went on until 1931 when they were brutally suppressed by the War of the Caves.
All right, check this out. In northern Nigeria, the slave population remained at the level of perhaps 3 million persons, even in the mid 1920s.
Well, of course, Nigeria was a British colony.
I got you. I'm just showing you that we can't. If I got a source that say 1960, we can't get it. We can't get these crackers no slack, Uncle Chip.
Well, we're looking. We're trying to. We are looking at what is. I mean, it's certainly possible that for people to break the law and to do
Right.
things, you know,
As late
to do
as
things
late
that
as 1905, the French regime held thousands of men, women, and children in captive along the middle Niger and required them to grow grain for the French army and administration.
Well, and that's what, and in 1905 was the year when they abolished the slavery for the second time, and about 1 million people were freed in that second emancipation.
Yeah, then they took a break. Then
So
they took a break. Then they sped it back up 20 years later, huh, Uncle Chip? Hey, Uncle Chip, I ain't even gonna cap, man. I appreciate you rocking with me, Uncle Chip.
Okay, well, well, go take a sleep.
Oh no, 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 no.
I'll read
Let me
this.
say this. It was no other person that I felt that was equipped enough and that had the decorum enough and the respect enough to have this conversation with. The topics that we deal with, these is topics that many of our people don't have the knowledge of. Many of your people probably don't even care about. So when we come together and have conversations like this, it's better for the people, you know what I'm saying, watching, and it's better for both of us for the dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I just know I value your conversation and your opinion.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to take a look at what is. I knew that they had abolished that they had abolished slavery the first time in the 1840s. I knew about that. I didn't know about the 1905 thing because I don't study African history, constantly. I mean, it's like if there's an opportunity like this that comes along and we're discussing it, and I look up some stuff in French and other languages to see what's going on.
Uncle Chip said he knows the
But
language, man. He can break that French down.
Well, the French is very helpful for looking at stuff in Africa, especially when you're talking about French colonial Africa. I can also do the same thing with Portuguese.
Gotcha.
If you wanted to talk about Angola and Mozambique and all that, the Portuguese were very tough on Africans.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that next show. How about that?
Okay, then we can look up stuff in about Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, and what's the other one? Cabo Verde.
Right. You know how you said that the French was responsible for 11% of the transatlantic slave trade. Who had the most percentage?
Yes. Well, I think the British probably had the most among the Europeans. They had the biggest colonial empire. I suspect the British had more, but they also got out of it faster than other countries. They abolished their slavery in 1839. So they were among the earliest to get out of it. But that doesn't mean, like you say, that everybody was freed immediately. A lot of things happened in, people in faraway places could do what they wanted. Right. Didn't matter what the government said.
That's a fact. That's a fact, Uncle Chip. It's like this. People with stuff that's not legal right now. You know what I'm saying? So everybody out here go bend the rules. That's why they got rules.
Sure, but I'm looking through. I don't see any. The last thing that looks like a slavery-like type deal was this railroad thing. The railroad thing was a real sore spot for the native population in French West Africa, and it put their government very much at risk. I think after they had to spend a lot of money trying to put this revolt down, that they kept their nose a little cleaner after that.
All right. The reason why I don't think France stopped in 1906 or 1905, whatever that date was, is because they colonized Burkina Faso in 1896 again. So it was some conflict going on. I'm not gonna expect them to stop in 10 years. Nah, they kept that going all the way until 1960, when for sure Burkina Faso got their independence. And when we talking about guys, it's like this. How you see how I'm working for you, I'm your indentured slave or whatever you want to call it, and you don't have enough. I'm dying because I don't have no food. That is slavery still, Uncle Chip. Would you agree or not? If your dog, you got a
in
dog,
everything except
you got a
man,
dog,
yeah.
Uncle Chip. You got a dog, and your dog died from starvation. Is that your fault, Uncle Chip?
Yeah, it's my fault if the dog's domesticated and I have him locked up. Absolutely. If I tell the dog, go grab whatever you can wherever you are, you're a free dog. Go run and eat, free dog. Go where you want. And I don't chain him up, and I don't ask anything of him. I suppose, he's responsible to the extent that he is
Oh
responsible.
nah, Uncle Chip. Them Europeans, French, they had a shortage on food, Uncle Chip. That's what was going on. They was feeding us scraps, we were starving, and then they want us to go out in the field and work goddamn 16 hours a day. Uncle Chip. That's what was going on. That's why them goddamn thousands of people died. But there's many more stories like that. I just gotta find the articles for them. Or maybe they won't even publish that shit because that make them look bad, Uncle Chip. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that the French were great. I mean, you had. I'm looking here in an article about this. They finished conquering Burkina Faso in 1896, so they really didn't even control that country until the late 19th century.
Nah, Uncle Chip, remember it was called something
Upper
happened in
Volta,
the 1800s where they had control over it.
1896.
No. I'm saying in the you said slavery ended in
The first time it ended in 1847.
1847. Now, French was in control of Burkina Faso at that time.
Not
It
yet.
was called France West Africa. French West Africa.
Well, there were other countries that were conquered, but Upper Volta, Haute Volta, wasn't conquered. They only started to get at the Haute Volta in the early 1890s.
All right, so let me ask you this. Why would they abolish slavery somewhere that they not at, Uncle Chip? You asked that.
Well, they didn't. I mean, they didn't have. I mean, Haute Volta or Burkina Faso was not controlled by France completely until
That's
1896.
what I'm saying. So that's when they put it on paper. That's when they put it on paper. How am I gonna write a law about slavery if I don't even know y'all? That means you was already there. You just put it on paper at this date. Because look, we got 1846, 1905, 1960, as far as the French tampering with Burkina Faso. So they always been in that area. For you to name yourself French West Africa, you got some balls. You got some damn balls, because that ain't one country that you taking over. You taking over you taking over goddamn. They had parts of Nigeria, Uncle Chip, while you said, and you right, Britain had most of Nigeria, but still France was there. So
the Niger
they not
River, the French part was called Niger, and the British part Nigeria.
Say it again.
The French part was called Niger, and the British part was called Nigeria. But it's the same people group.
Right, modern. But what I'm saying is they didn't. It wasn't like these people was here. Britain had them, and France was here. No, they fought for that land to take over that Nigerian part of that land. Uncle Chip.
Well, the Burkina Faso was a very tough colony for the French. There was a colonial war they fought from between 1915 and 1916, and the French government had to send troops during the middle of World War I, and they lost some battles until they finally succeeded in suppressing the insurrection. And then in the north, where the Tuareg, nomadic Tuareg lived, they revolted in 1919. And so they divided and conquered. The colonial government separated the present territory of Burkina Faso.
This is what we need to find out.
From Senegal and
this is what we need to find out, Uncle Chip. Who was ruling Burkina Faso before the French? That's what we need to find out. I'll look it up real quick.
Well, it was they were ruled by Africans. It was an African kingdom.
Nah, because we got 1940 that they abolishing slavery over there. I don't think it's 18.
They took most of it by 1896.
Right.
But there was still resistance to them, and then there was resistance again at World War I, and there was more resistance in other parts in 1921 to 1928.
All right, it says Burkina Faso was not a unified state before French colonization, but rather a patchwork of different kingdoms and communities with their own political structures and hierarchies. The French gradually exerted control over these territories in the late 19th century, culminating in the establishment of French Upper Volta in 1919. Oh, so they saying before before the late 19th century, they trying to say Burkina Faso wasn't really Burkina Faso.
No, there were several tribes that controlled part of it.
Masi, okay. All right, yeah, man, we got to go down that rabbit hole another time. Uncle Chip, I appreciate you for your knowledge.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, the language has helped me to talk about this stuff with you because I can look it up on the fly as we go. And then I can translate what I find, which gives you a little bit, you can read what's available in English and also understand what's available in
Right.
French.
Fact. Let me ask you this.
Okay, have a good night's
Let
sleep.
me ask you this, Uncle Chip. Did you learn anything?
Go ahead.
Did you learn anything in the
Yeah,
last 2 hours?
yeah, I did. I didn't know about the 1905 second abolition of slavery. I didn't know that Burkina Faso was a tough colony for the French. I didn't realize that they didn't get there till 1896. So they essentially made a colony out of someplace when the colonial era was almost ended.
Now I wouldn't say they got there in 1896. That's probably when they took over that whole area.
Well, they got there around 1890, and they were able to conquer most of it by 1896.
Uncle Chip, why we got the 1840 slavery then?
Well, that's other parts of French West Africa. Burkina Faso wasn't part of the empire until later. It was easier to conquer the stuff along the coast
Uncle
than to
Chip,
go
you're
into the
not
interior.
gonna get you can't get me to believe that the goddamn French didn't have their feet in Burkina Faso doing the same thing that they was doing next door. Cut it out, Uncle Chip. Slaves was coming from everywhere, left and right. Come on, Uncle Chip. They didn't
Well, we're not talking about the slaves at this point. We're not talking. The slaves were captured and carried off to the coast. And once they got to the coast, the various ships grabbed them and
Right.
put them in the hold and sent them off. In the case of the French, they shipped them off to Haiti
Right.
and to the French Caribbean islands. That's where they went.
Right. You had some Burkina Fasos on them ships. You had some everybody on them ships. It was a
Probably.
gumbo.
Probably, but the French didn't have political control of the territory.
Nah, they didn't have
until the
Uncle Chip.
1890s.
They didn't have political control, but they had freestyle control. Just like this, slavery ended in America in in uh, uh, um in the North. People were still doing it in the South. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, Uncle Chip.
Well, I don't know if the natives of Burkina Faso had slaves in the 19th century or not. I don't know.
You say the natives? No, I don't think the natives. I don't think the natives of Burkina Faso. I think it was the slave masters came into Burkina Faso.
But there were slaves. There were slaves in the various African tribes of their fellow Africans, not their own tribe, but enemy tribes would be captured. People from enemy tribes would be captured in raids and war and would become slaves of their captors.
Right. Right.
That was how things
Right.
were. So I don't know if before the French took control there were native slaves from other tribes, like the Tuareg, who would be held by the Burkina tribe.
Before the French took control of Burkina Faso, they had their feet up in there, kidnapping people.
Could be.
I
Well, I am going to wish you good night.
appreciate this conversation,
Be
Uncle Chip.
well. Talk to
You be safe. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Uncle Chip. We out of here.